Right before Christmas and all through the house, do you really know what these songs are about?
You are such a genuine gem. Thank you for clicking on my Wicked Winter series. I'm Brooke Makenna, and this is about the terrifying truth of Christmas carols. By the way, if you enjoy content like this, I am posting 31 days of continuous content for Wicked Winter this December, so make sure you're subscribed with the post notification bells on. Yeah, let's get back to the story. So we all know Christmas songs can be so addicting. It seems like as soon as it gets cold out, we all turn on the songs, we get in our cozy pajamas, and we dance around the house singing and drinking our hot chocolate. But do we really know what we're saying, or why we can't help ourselves from singing along, or the truth about where these songs really came from? I feel like as we get older, we hear the strange messages hidden within these songs. I mean, there have been so many times when I've seen that Baby It's Cold Outside has such an inappropriate message, and you really do hear it when you begin to hear the girl in the song say no, 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 and say what's in my drink. I mean, it sounds like an innocent love song until you realize that the man in the song is not letting her outside because it's too cold. And then she's asking, well, what would the neighbors think? And then she finally gives up and says, well, at least I can say that I tried. Now, to me, that doesn't sound like a cute Christmas love song. It sounds like a man who was giving unwanted advances to a woman who was telling him no. But that's not the only one. There's also Santa Baby, which is known to be a more sexual, sexy song, but it's basically about having a sugar daddy baby type relationship. I mean, in the song it says, fill my stockings with duplex and Chexes, sign your ex on the line, and hurry down the chimney tonight. And it goes on to say, I really do believe in you. Let me see if you believe in me. Now, sugar daddies and babies, if that's what you choose to do as an adult, that is your complete personal decision, and I mean no judgment towards anybody who chooses that route in life, or any route in life really, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody else or themselves. But to me, having a child sing that song, and it's so normalized now, telling Santa that he's this sexy old man and that this little girl who's singing has been an awfully good girl, is just so disturbing on so many levels when you think of it that way. But I get that we could just be thinking too deep about these songs, okay? Maybe they were just meant to be innocent with a little twist on them. And maybe they knew that these kids would not know the real meaning, so it didn't really matter. But these next ones I'm about to tell you about are far more disturbing and a lot harder to just brush off. Now, there was a song made in 1968 by Clarence Carter named Backdoor Santa, and it's just as bad as you're expecting. In this song, it says, I ain't like old Saint Nick, he don't come but once a year. I make all the little girls happy. And the worst part is that later on in the song it says, I keep some change in my pocket to chase the children at home. I give them a few pennies so that we can be alone. And with the obviously very disturbing lyrics that those were, it was banned from the radio pretty quickly. But just the fact that that was ever made and thought that that was okay is just the most sickening thing I have ever heard. And I hope that the man who wrote that song, or whoever wrote that song, is locked away or kept away from children. But not all songs have dark lyrics to them. Some of them do have a dark inspiration behind them though, which is in a way a little creepier to know that these songs may not seem dark, but they definitely came from a dark place. There is one that I believe is from England, and it's called Coventry Carol, and it is from back when the villagers used to do plays from the Bible, and it occurs after the birth of Christ in the city of Bethlehem, where basically the king ordered the slaughter of infants, which was all male infants, to be killed. And the Coventry Carol was the last lullaby that the parents could sing to their deceased sons. It is so heartbreaking. Then there is one from Belgium, which is called Black Pete, which is about a boy who would help old Saint Nick deliver the presents. But there's so much controversy around this song because this boy, who is called Black Pete, was played by a white actor. every time. And yes, they were in blackface. People tried to say that it was wrong and speak out about it, and the people who would put it on would say, oh no, it's just soot from the chimney, except for the clothes never were dirty. And they would have been too if it was supposed to be soot from the chimney. The actors, the white actors, would also wear an afro wig. And it said that this whole story was supposed to be about a servant or a slave. And not only is that disgusting, but it also sets us back so many years to even think about singing a song like that. So I really hope that it's still not something that's performed or sang today. And then there's one called Here We Come Awassailing, which I think is how you say it, and it is basically talking about how they're not beggars that go from door to door, but are the neighbor's children you have seen before. And then it says, good master and good mistress, as you sit beside the fire, pray, think of us poor children who wander in the mire. But wassailing was originally for the masters to basically keep the peasants at bay. So the peasants would come to the door during the winter, ask for food, ask for drink, and the lords of these houses would give it to them so that they would have goodwill toward them all throughout the year and basically not rebel against them. So it was literally about the poor getting handouts to silence them from speaking out on the rich who were mistreating them. You know, the awful thing about this was this song was made for people that were suffering, and then the people suffering ended up singing it as they were walking around Christmas time, not having anywhere to sleep, not having anything to eat, because they related to it. Then there's one from Iceland, which I'll put the name up here because I know I'll butcher it, but it's also the Christmas cat, which is supposed to be about a Yule cat or a fantastic beast that would come and eat children if they didn't get clothes for Christmas. Why, you may ask? Well, the Icelandic families would all try to get all of their work done in the autumn wool harvest before Christmas so that they could have everything done, of course, and relax a little bit. And so the kids who would help out during this time would all receive a piece of clothing from that wool for helping, like in exchange for it. So if you did not receive a piece, you were looked at as lazy for not helping. That's when the Yule cat would come for you and bring you back to where she lived, or I guess they lived, since we don't know a gender. And there's where they also lived with an ogress called Gyra, who would boil naughty children in her cauldron. So as you can see, not all Christmas songs are as pure and innocent as the children running around singing them. But something that's always crossed my mind is how caroling began, as far as people going door to door and singing. Seems like a very strange thing to do. I mean, yes, they're good singers, but we can all just sing Christmas songs ourselves. So I could admit it, most people don't really enjoy seeing carolers or having to stand there and awkwardly listen to them when they're trying to get other stuff done. I think when you're in a situation where you want to hear them, you're sitting down for a Christmas festivity or whatever, it's nice, but not all the time. And these people would literally go door to door, and some still do. And that's like your personal space, which as an introvert could be a little, a little pushy when you just hear singing outside of your door. It's nice, don't get me wrong, but it can be a little pushy. But then when I read the origin story about how this all began, I felt bad for ever even feeling that way, because this is such a traumatic, life-altering, world-altering thing that happened that made these carolers begin to go door to door. So let me tell you what happened. So it was 1888 in the London's Whitechapel district, where a man being referred to as Jack the Ripper was killing. These women were going missing and were showing up dead with their throats cut and abdominal mutilations. It was horrific, and this killer wasn't being caught. Little did they know he never would be. But everyone around was terrified that it would be them. It was mostly sex workers that would go missing, but they were all worried that he could possibly change his MO. And that's when something happened that made them all believe that he did. A young girl named Carol Poles went missing, and nobody knew what happened. They searched empty buildings, parks, and waterways, and they couldn't find anything. Even after questioning a few people, nobody had any idea where she went. They were terrified they would never find her, so the community decided to actually band together and go door to door asking people themselves if they knew anything about Carol's disappearance. So they got in a group, they headed door to door, knocked on the door, but nobody was answering. You see, they would have to go after dark when all of them were off of work, and people were terrified to open their door after dark, afraid that they would be face to face with Jack the Ripper himself. And the most gruesome victim of his had been found a month prior. Her name was Mary Kelly. So they needed to come up with some way to get people to open their doors and talk to them where they knew that they weren't going to do any harm to them. That's when they decided there was nothing more cheerful and good-spirited as a Christmas song. So they began to go door to door singing these songs as loud as they could to let the people inside the house know that they were there with good intentions. The doors slowly opened and they would get to talk to these people, but unfortunately Carol was never found. The community never gave up, and every year around Christmas time they would head out and they would sing songs. They would ask about Carol once again, hoping that somebody would come forward, and they would pay tribute to her life year after year. And it's something we still do today. But this cannot be 100% confirmed, so you'll have to let me know down below if you believe it, and almost think of it more as an urban legend. And also, did you know any of these dark meanings behind certain Christmas songs? Will you still be singing them this year? I'd love to know your thoughts on it, and if you think it's wrong to let these children sing such dark songs, or if you think that all art has some sort of dark background to it, and that sometimes you just have to look surface level, for kids at least. I don't know. I'm a little torn on that one, because I get that they are just, songs that are meant to make people happy, but I think when it's too dark and you're, not telling your child everything about it and just letting them sing a song. There's shows that we watch as kids that have such dark humor in them and adult humor where you watch it when you're older and you're like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that I actually watched this show and didn't understand that until now. And so I think it is just a, gradual thing. Like, you get older and you figure out what it means, and it's not necessarily a horrible thing. It's not like it's traumatizing any child, hopefully not, and especially not like the ones that are just like the inspiration behind it, not the actual lyrics. Although that Backdoor Santa one, I'm so glad it was never really played and not a huge classic now, because that one was the most disturbing thing I've ever heard in my life, and cannot believe anyone would ever think that that would be a good idea for a song. But you'll have to let me know down below if you knew of any of these, or if you know any other Christmas songs that are just so incredibly creepy. And make sure to remember that if you like my content, that I am posting every single day, so you will see me tomorrow. Sorry if you don't want to see me tomorrow. I'll be back. Don't forget to speak up. Your voice is powerful enough, and I love you to absolute pieces. I'm also wearing a Santa shirt, which you can't really see, but look, see? I tried to be festive, but didn't work because you can't really see it, so yeah. Okay, bye.
One person can start a tradition, and you don't have to be in a power position.